This is a franchise Rian Johnson should stick with. I really enjoyed the first Knives Out. It was such a pleasant surprise. I had a feeling I would enjoy it, but when I went in to see it, I was a little held back by the name attached to this movie, Rian Johnson. As we all know, he pretty much butchered/destroyed Star Wars to some extent with his movies. They were such a mess, and I have that negative thought process connected with his name. So when I saw that he was the one involved in the first Knives Out, it made me a little bit leery. However, I went to go see it Thanksgiving Day, 2019. I remember that. It was that was a good day, and that was a good film. I think that's why I enjoyed that day so much, because the movie was so good, so enjoyable, so entertaining, so just whatever. I get just positive things about this film. So I was happy to find out that they were going to make a second one. But then, of course, the pandemic came along, destroyed so many things, and that affected the timing of when this was filmed, I'm pretty sure. So finally, almost 3 years exactly, Knives Out 2 was released on the big screen. It's actually headed for Netflix, but I think it's going to be on the big screen for about a week. I think it's coming to Netflix right before Christmas. But my brother and Arturo and I went to go see it today, which is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving 2022. So my thoughts on this in general. I think if I had to pick between the two, I would say I like the first one more. And that's not necessarily because this is or this film isn't good or isn't as good. It's probably because, for a couple reasons. The first one was new, brand new sort of story and characters, and the setup with Daniel Craig's detective character and all that. And I really like the setting of the house and the town that it took place in. This has a totally different location, as you can see here by the scenery. Obviously different characters because it's a different mystery. And so I felt like the first one gave me more warm fuzzies, if that makes any sense. But this movie was, in my opinion, pretty solid. I felt like it was decently written, decently acted. The characters were entertaining, just like with the first movie, because it was about like sort of dysfunctional-ish type of family, and they had all these little squabbles that, was happening between them, and just the different personalities involved and the conflicts that came because of that, and then trying to solve this mystery. And so the same sort of thing was happening in this movie. I feel like it has a slower start to it as far as when things really start moving with regard to the mystery of it all than the first one did. The first one felt like it moved a little bit more quickly. Now, I don't know runtime. I'm not sure what the difference is between the two. I didn't look that up. But this one has a runtime of 2 hours and 20 minutes. That, of course, includes the credits. There's no post or mid-credit scene at all. So you don't need to stick around for that if you happen to go see it on the big screen. But this one felt like it took its time to get started. There was about an hour before an actual murder happened. And therefore, the mystery that unfolded as a result of that. Now, there were other elements in place, other sort of mystery type elements in place that, obviously made up the story. And they were doing a lot of character building, character introduction, character dynamics, and weaving all of these things together. And they also inserted the whole, the stuff about the pandemic that played a part in this. It's specifically mentioned. There's a scene or two of characters on Zoom calls with each other. There are some interesting cameos in one of the Zoom calls, which you can't help but notice right away. And so it kind of it took its time to establish the story, where they were going with it, and who was going to be an important part of things as they played out. So while it felt slow in comparison to the first one, I honestly was not bored at all. It was never like, oh, come on, let's go. When is it going to be? I really didn't feel like that because the story was constructed in such a way that to me, the characters were interesting enough. I was curious to see what was going to happen next. I was curious to find out who was going to get killed, who was going to be unveiled as or revealed as the killer, and what the heck is going on. And just like with the first movie, there's, well, not everything is as it seems. Let's just say that much. And so I think also in the first movie, something happens and then they do a flashback segment to a great extent that explains more or shows you in more depth what was really going on that you didn't realize at the very beginning. The same sort of formula happens here. It felt like that part went on a bit longer than it did in the first movie, but there was a lot to show and explain. And also, something that I really enjoyed about this was that there were some legitimate surprises for me. I thought I had figured out a particular thing. There was at least one thing I thought for sure that I knew, oh, there's something to this particular thing that happened in this scene. This means that particular person is the one who did such and such. I was totally wrong. And I don't know if the reason for what I noticed was sort of like a red herring to kind of distract you, or if it was just maybe sloppy editing. Honestly, don't know. But I was so honed in on that I didn't consider the possibility of anything else being what was going on. And so as the story is revealed, much like the title of this movie, Glass Onion, there's all these layers to stuff that was happening, layers to the character, layers to the plot. And it did literally feel like this story was like an onion being peeled back. I don't know if that was intentional because the first movie was kind of like that as well. But I felt like this was pretty solid. I think it was a good follow-up to the first movie. If you enjoyed the first movie, if you enjoy mysteries, like this reminded me somewhat of sort of like a, Agatha Christie type of mystery. They go to this remote sort of island and things are happening. I was thinking, oh, is this going to be like a 10 Little Indians sort of setup where everyone's going to get picked off sort of thing? It wasn't quite like that, but it gave me that feel. And I think that this is a good start to what I believe is going to become a sort of franchise/series. Now, I have read, as of today, the date of viewing this movie, that a Knives Out 3 is going to happen. That makes me happy because I really like that we have something, I can't really say new because detective stories aren't really, mystery stories, they're not really new, but we've got a pretty solid, entertaining mystery series out of this. And I mean, I'm viewing this as a series because if there's going to be a third one in the works, maybe there's going to be a fourth and onward. And this is something that Daniel Craig, I feel like, can kind of keep his teeth into because there's not a lot of, James Bond type stunts like what was going on in the James Bond movies. Not necessarily as physically draining. I feel like this is a character he can really establish himself as and keep it going. And I look forward to any more in the series. I mean, I hope it continues to go on and on as long as it's well written. See, that's the thing. If we start getting entries in this series thrown out at us that are just shabbily written, convoluted, or feeling like there's any sort of agenda type thing attached to it, that's going to be really disappointing because for the most part, these movies didn't come across that way. This one didn't either. I mean, I felt like the story kind of pokes fun at different types of people. And it was done in a pretty humorous way. There was a lot of humor in this in general. Certain scenes that happened that were laugh out loud, not totally throughout, but some just little interaction things that happened that was kind of, okay, it's kind of funny, facial expressions, stupid things that some of the characters said. And there was this one part that made me laugh pretty hard, and it was because of some crazy stuff that was going down, and one of the characters just cannot believe what they're seeing, and this person screamed out, "What is reality?" It's just kind of funny. It was funny because in a lot of ways, to me, that line kind of mirrors the way I feel about a lot of the stuff going on around us today. Like, just so much upside down crap. It's like, what is real? Like, what in the hell is going on around us? That particular moment, so just kind of, because you could understand this character's like, what the heck, because they thought they knew something, and then they find out, no, they absolutely didn't. And it was funny the way it was done. And I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I look forward to the next one. And I hope that it can continue the trend of a pretty solidly written murder mystery. I mean, that's basically, it's like a modern day Agatha Christie type of story we've got going on here, and I'm here for it because I like stuff like that. And I really liked also the cast. It was a pretty big ensemble cast, several recognizable names and faces, and I felt like they all did a really good job. And yeah, I was happy with this, and I think if you enjoyed the first one, you will probably really enjoy this one, unless you were super attached to the characters in the first one. I mean, because they don't return. So just remember that's a whole new sort of thing involved, different personalities going on, and the setting is completely different. So yeah, solid follow-up to a really good first entry, and I look forward to watching this again sometime. I'll add this to my collection as well. We have the first one on my brother and I have it on our Vudu account, and I see no reason why this can't be added to the mix. So yep, don't have a ton of stuff to say about it. I just wrote a few notes, but wanted to let you guys know that this is out. If you want to go see it on the big screen, you only have a few days in which to do it, from what I understand. Now, different locations might have changes in dates that they're available. I don't know. I thought it was only going to be in theaters for a week. I might be completely wrong about that, but I don't think it's going to be on the big screen very long, because it is coming to Netflix in about a month's time. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Knives Out 2 or Glass Onion. And I don't have anything else to say, so I'm going to wrap this up. Later, guys.